what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, that was pretty amazing. Thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it. It proves that a snowstorm cannot stop our political revolution. So I think everybody here deserves a round of applause. Right now we're getting down to crunch time. We have 12 days left before the caucus, and every second counts. So we really appreciate you all coming out here tonight. But the next 12 days really matter as well. And, I know you are all supporters, and we're going to count on support from each and every one of you to win this thing. So we really need all of you to come out and help us in our effort to find supporters and talk to the people in your neighborhoods about Bernie and getting them out to the caucus on that night. So please, before the day's over, make sure you sign in, make sure you fill out a caucus card, and make sure you talk to one of us about, what you can do to get Bernie, to win Iowa and on into the White House. So I won't take up more of your time because I know I'm not the reason that you're here. But thank you for turning out again, and we really appreciate this good showing here today.
Hmm. Are we ready? Okay, I'm really nervous. This is the first time I've done this. This is the first time I volunteered for a presidential candidate because Bernie Sanders is that impressive to me. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today on such a nasty, snowy day. My name is Kathleen Varga, and with me is my daughter, Olivia. And I'm a single mother, and I'm a retired nurse. And I'm very concerned about the continual high cost of health care, especially in regard to health care insurance coverage. We now have 33 million Americans who do not have health insurance. Bernie has proposed the single-payer health insurance plan that would not only guarantee health care to all Americans, but it would save hundreds of billions of dollars annually. Healthcare is a fundamental human right and not a for-profit commodity. I am caucusing for Bernie on February 1st in support of his healthcare plan amongst all of his other fantastic plans. And now Olivia will say a few words.
Hi, my name is Olivia Russo, and I am currently 17, and I'm a huge supporter of Bernie Sanders. One of my biggest issues right now, which I would like to address, is climate change. And unfortunately, climate change is being damaged from billionaire corporations that think they can take advantage of the earth and have no consequences left over, and that needs to change. And thank God, Bernie Sanders addresses that issue, and he makes it important that we, all of us, make a difference. And everybody's vote makes a difference. We're all important. And each and every one of you should realize that we are the people that create this country. So as an important quote goes, it says, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. So thank you very much. And remember to caucus on February 1st. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you.
So, on that inspiring quote, everybody please remember to caucus. Each and every one of you can caucus. If you don't know where to do it, you can find out, either ask one of us here, or you can go on the, check the Iowa Democratic Party website, and it has a very good coverage of what a caucus is, how you do it, where you got to go, everything. So there's no excuse why you can't go. So, with all this, will everybody please join me and welcome Bernie Sanders.
Let me thank all of you for coming out on this beautiful Vermont afternoon. So I'm still at home. And let me thank Kathleen. Kathleen, by the way, claims to be 64. Does anyone believe her? I don't. And her daughter, Olivia. And thank them both for that very generous introduction. Let me start off by saying a few words about our campaign, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the issues facing our country. We began the campaign about 9 months ago, after my wife finally came on board. She is smarter than I am, and she said, why in God's name would you want to do this? But she became convinced for the same reason that I decided to run, and that is, I think it is just too late, given the serious crises facing our country, for establishment politics and establishment economics. You know, there are some people, there's a joke that goes around the Beltway, inside the Beltway, that every morning, 100 people in this country wake up and they brush their teeth and they look in the mirror and they say, there is a future president. That is the United States Senate. But I have to tell you that having grown up in a 3.5-room rent-controlled apartment in Brooklyn, New York, I did not grow up with the belief that I would ever in a million years be running for president of the United States. But the reason I'm doing it is I have 4 kids, great kids, blessed with 7 beautiful, beautiful grandchildren. And I am very, very worried about what is going on in our country and in the world today. And I think that we have got to get beyond status quo politics, to have the courage to take on some very, very powerful people and special interests in order to create the kind of country that I think our people deserve. That's why I'm running for president. In any case, I began the campaign a little less than 9 months ago. And when we began the campaign, we had no money, we had no political organization, and my name recognition outside of Vermont and a few other states was minimal, including here in Iowa. And, media looked at me and they said, well, you comb your hair really exceptionally well, and you're a GQ kind of a guy. We love the way you dress, so but they felt that our campaign was pretty much a fringe campaign. Maybe we'd raise some interesting ideas, but not to be taken seriously. Well, 9 months have come and gone, and the candidate who everybody thought was inevitable appears today not to be quite so inevitable. Right now, I think some of the recent polls have us a little bit ahead in New Hampshire. Some other polls here in Iowa have us maybe ahead, maybe behind, but clearly closing the gap. And I think it is generally believed that in Iowa, New Hampshire, the other states, we have the momentum. In town after town, as I go around the state, we have brought out just huge numbers of people on a day with rough roads out there. I appreciate everybody here coming out. We have brought out some 450,000 Americans all over this country to meetings like this. We have brought out over 40,000 people here in the state of Iowa in meetings like this. And one of the reasons why I think we have an excellent chance to win is what we are practicing is old-fashioned democracy. This is nothing very fancy about this. No, no PowerPoints, no marching bags, no, this is it. Here I am. For better or worse. And one of the obstacles that we had to deal with in the beginning is that people very sensibly said, look, and sadly so, but truthfully, in this day and age, if you want to run for president, I'm telling you this in case any of you want to run for president, it will take many, many hundreds of millions of dollars to run for president. That's a sad state of affairs. That is true. And what virtually all candidates do, including both of my Democratic opponents, do in order, understandably, to raise this kind of money, they form super PACs. You all know what a super PAC is? Super PAC is a vehicle by which millionaires and billionaires can contribute unlimited sums of money. I have no comment on that. But not all, of course. No, it is just very wealthy people who have an opportunity to shape government in the way they want to shape it. So, what often happens is a candidate will go to a very wealthy person's home, sit down, not with, folks like this, but very, very wealthy people, and they will walk out of that meeting with $5 million, $10 million. And I think you got to be very naive not to believe that people who are going to make $1 million or $10 million in contribution, they want something. Now, every candidate who receives it says, "Oh, I will never be influenced by this money." Right? People are just giving you $5, $10 million. Just for the heck of it. I don't think so. Okay. So that's what, all these experts say, well, that's what you got to do. That is the only way you can possibly raise enough money to run a national campaign. Well, the truth is, throughout my political life, I have never represented the billionaire class. I've never represented corporate America. And it was clear to us that we were not going to form a super PAC. Didn't want their money. We are the only candidate on the Democratic side not to have a super PAC, and I'm proud of it. So, okay, that's a very brave, nice thing to say. What happens next? How do you raise money? Great to give a good speech. Not going to have a super PAC. But I do need a few $100 million to run and win. How do you do that? Well, we tried something that was kind of, wild and crazy. The older people here know what that expression is. Remember wild and crazy? Younger people don't know what that is. Sorry. So anyhow, what we decided to do is to simply go out and ask middle class and working class Americans to help us out. And the most amazing thing happened, something that I would not have dreamed could happen and would not have predicted. You know what happened in 9 months? We have received 2.5 million individual contributions. More individual contributions than any candidate in the history of the United States of America up to this point. And while, folks who have super PACs can come out of a meeting with $5 or $10 million from a dozen people, I am very proud to tell you that our average campaign contribution, not $1 million, not $500,000, it is $27. How's that? And that is pretty revolutionary unto itself, because what that is saying is that in 2016, you can still run a serious and I believe eventually winning campaign without being dependent on big money interests. Now, the other aspect of the campaign, which I think is creating the kind of energy and enthusiasm that we are seeing, not just in Iowa and New Hampshire, but all across this country, is that we are talking about the real issues facing the American people. And this in itself is very, very important. Some guy came up to me months ago when I was in the West Coast, and he said, Bernie, what I like about your campaign is you are treating us as if we were intelligent human beings. Okay? In other words, I'm not here to tell you some funny jokes. I have a pretty bad sense of humor. Wouldn't work in any case. And we don't have all this fancy stuff, and I'm not going to tell you about all my good friends who are in the state legislature and everything else. We're just going to talk about the most important issues facing the country. And one thing I learned a long, long time ago, it is not the front page of the newspapers, or not CBS or NBC or CNN, that determine what the most important issues are. You're going to have to determine what the most important issues are. The most important issues are those issues that impact the lives of ordinary Americans. And we have got to determine what those issues are, not anybody else. What media likes to do is give us a new story every single day. That's fine, that helps get their circulation up or get people to watch their TV shows, keep it moving, keep it exciting. But that's not necessarily the reality of ordinary life. I'll give you an example. I was in Nevada a couple of weeks ago. A woman came up to me and said, Bernie, she's about early 30s, I think. She has a 5-year-old kid. She is making $10.45 an hour, and she is paying off student debt. And with tears in her eyes, she said, I just don't know how I'm going to make it. $10.45 with a kid paying off student debt. Now, media may not be all that interested in that story. That's a story that impacts millions of people. I talk in my own state of Vermont, all over this country, to senior citizens trying to get by on $12,000, $13,000 a year Social Security. And you know what? If people can't get by on $12,000 or $13,000 Social Security. So on a cold day like today, there are families. There are elderly people in Iowa who are keeping that thermostat down. There are seniors in Iowa who are cutting their prescription drugs in half, their pills in half, while not eating adequately. Now, that may not be a sexy story for NBC. That's the reality for many millions of seniors here in this country. I'm the former chairman of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. I want to thank all of the veterans in this room for their service to our country. And it's not widely known, but as a result of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's not only that we lost 6,700 brave men and women, including more than a few from my own small state, but 500,000 have come home with PTSD and traumatic brain injury. And that means not only are those veterans themselves suffering, their children and their wives are suffering. We have seen families break up. We have seen kids not get the attention that they need. People who used to be able to go out and earn good money, doing good jobs, can't do them anymore. May not be a sexy issue today. That's a real issue impacting so many of our families. So we have got to determine what the issues are. And here's another issue that I want to throw out there. Again, you don't see it much in the media, but I want you to think about it. Everybody in this room knows that in the last 30, 40 years, we have seen an explosion of technology, right? Funny story. I was elected mayor of Burlington, Vermont, 1981. When I was elected, I know the young people will think this is impossible. But when I was elected mayor of Burlington, we did not have a computer in City Hall. Can you imagine that? Hard to imagine. George Washington, Bernie Sanders, we didn't have a computer. All right, but that's how much the world has actually changed. We got a computer a few years later. But despite, and I want you all to think about this, despite the explosion of technology, despite all of the computers and all of the robotics and all the internets, why is it that the average American worker is working longer hours for low wages? Why is that? If I gave you a tool to make you more productive, don't you think you should be making more money or working fewer hours? And yet, the opposite is true. You're working longer hours for low wages. Why is that? Those are the kinds of questions that we have got to ask. And those are the questions that we are asking in this campaign. Sometimes the answers may not be all that simple, but those are the questions. Second point that I want to make, that no other candidate will make. Because it's a painful truth to have to acknowledge, and this is the truth. No president, not Bernie Sanders, I'm here obviously to ask for your support, but not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can address the major crises facing our country alone. Can't do it alone. And you know why I can't do it alone? Because the powers that be, Wall Street, corporate America, the corporate media, large and wealthy campaign donors, have so much influence over the economic and political life of this country. No president, not the best intention, can do it alone. Which is why what our campaign is about is not just electing Bernie Sanders for president. It is creating a political revolution in which millions of people get involved in the political process in a way we have not seen for a very, very long time. So I am asking your support on February 1st. I'm asking you to help me win the Iowa caucus. I'm asking you to help me win the Democratic nomination. But I am asking you to stay with me the day after the general election. There's one other issue I want to go into before I get to the first of my remarks, then I'll stop and take your questions and comments. There are, I keep reading in the newspapers, people who are interviewed, people who go to meetings like this, and they say, well, I like Bernie, I agree with his ideas, but, I don't think I can support him because he really can't win the general election. So let me disabuse you of that situation. Almost all of the polls, and polls are polls, they go down, but almost all of the polls that have come out suggest that I am a much stronger candidate against the Republicans than is Hillary Clinton. There was a poll just came out the other day, a national poll, which said that Secretary Clinton is beating Donald Trump, our old friend Donald Trump, by 10 points. That's good. We're beating him by 15 points. Another poll that came out a few weeks ago, national poll, said that Hillary Clinton is beating him by 7 points. That's good. We're beating him by 13 points. Polls here in Iowa, polls in New Hampshire have the gap even larger. I think in New Hampshire I was beating him by 19 points. In what are battleground states, both New Hampshire and Iowa are battleground states. Point being that I believe from the bottom of my heart that if we want to beat Trump and right-wing Republicans, I believe I am the candidate best able to do that. Okay, let's talk about issues. What are some of the issues that are out there? Let me touch on one that I have been focusing on for a long, long time, and I think more and more people are paying attention to. And that is the nature of the American economy and the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality that exists today. In our country and around the world, there have always been rich, there have always been poor. No debate about that. But what we're seeing now is absolutely grotesque, and it is worse today than at any time in our country since 1928, and it is worse now than in any other major country on earth. This is what we got. I want you to hear this. Today in America, the top 1/10 of 1%, not 1%, 1/10 of 1%, owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. Got that? Today in America, the 20 wealthiest people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, 150 million Americans. Today in America, one family, the Walton family of Walmart, one family owns more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. And here's an irony with regard to the Walton family of Walmart. You've heard a whole lot from many of my Republican friends talk about welfare, people ripping off the welfare system. Do you know who the largest single recipient of welfare in the United States of America is? It is the Walton family that owns Walmart. And why is that? It is because many of the employees who work for Walmart earn wages and benefits so minimal that they are forced to go on food stamps, on Medicaid, and in subsidized housing because Walmart and Walton family are not paying them fair wages or benefits. So I suggest to the Walton family, the wealthiest family in America, get off of welfare, pay your workers a decent wage and decent benefits. But it's not only wealth, it is income. It's what we earn in a given year. In my state, and I'm sure in Iowa, we have people who are working not one job, they're working 2 jobs, they are working 3 jobs just to cobble together some income and some health care. Turns out that in the United States, our people, not a lot of people know this, people in America work the longest hours a year of any people in the industrialized world. Do you know that? Japanese are very hardworking people. We work longer hours than the Japanese. So you got families out there, not far from here, I'm sure, where mom is working, dad is working, kids are working, people are stressed out, marriages are stressed, parents are not spending the kind of time they want with their kids, people are working like crazy, And yet 58% of all new income generated today, 58% goes to the top 1%. So what this campaign is about, and what a Sanders administration would be about, is to do something very, very radical. And that is to create an economy that works for working families and not just a handful of billionaires. Now, when we talk about why people are working such long hours, it has everything to do with the fact that wages in this country are just too low. In my view, the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. You can do the arithmetic as well as I do. Take $8 an hour, multiply it by 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, and you come up with a number that not only can a family not live on, certainly an individual cannot live on. Can't do it. You can't own a car, you can't put gas in the car, you can't buy insurance for the car, you can't get health care, you can't heat a home on $8 an hour. You just cannot do it. So my view is that we've got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, and that is $15 an hour over the next several years. And when we talk about equitable wages, I would hope that every man in this room stands with the women in making certain that we have pay equity for women. There is no rational economic reason as to why women should be making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. That is just old-fashioned sexism, and together, let's change that. When we talk about the economy, and when pollsters call you up, and I suspect pollsters call you guys up a whole lot here in Iowa, when they call you up and they say, what's the issue uppermost on your mind? Generally speaking, what people all over the country say, it's jobs and the economy. That's what they always say. Why is that? Well, for a start, what people know is that real unemployment is a lot higher than official unemployment. People know what I'm talking about when I say that? Anyone know the difference between official unemployment and real unemployment? What's the difference? Yeah. Exactly. Teachers, give this young man an A. What he is saying is absolutely right. Official unemployment says, are you unemployed? Yes, I am. Okay. It does not include, well, I'm not out looking for work anymore because I live in an area with so much unemployment I can't get a job. Or, yeah, I'm working, but I'm only working 20 hours a week and I want to work 40 hours. Okay. Real unemployment is close to 10% in this country. Now, let me tell you something that is never discussed. Youth unemployment. Youth unemployment. Ask some economists to do a study for me. This is what they found. For kids 17 to 20 who graduated high school, if that kid is white, real unemployment 33%. Latino 36%. African American 51%. And if anybody thinks there is not a direct correlation between that outrageously high rate of youth unemployment and the fact that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth, you would be mistaken. So here's a radical idea. By the way, we got 2.2 million people in jail. 2.2 million people in jail. And we're spending $80 billion a year to lock people up. I think it makes a lot more sense with regard to our young people to be investing in education and jobs rather than jails and incarceration. It costs less money to send somebody to the University of Iowa than to lock them up. Let's send them to the University of Iowa. And when we talk about jobs, what are we talking about? I think instinctually, people understand how volatile the current economy is. You've seen the stock market go down recently, and people are very nervous. So if you are 55 years of age or 60 years of age, you're going to work tomorrow, you're afraid that your employer may say, Joe, thank you for 30 years of work, but you know what? We're going to have to get rid of you and replace you with somebody half your age for half your wages, right? What happens? Or maybe you're working 40 hours a week and your employer will say, well, Mary, you know, we're going to have to reduce your hours to 29 hours a week. Just coincidentally, we will not have to pay you any health insurance or other benefits. Or maybe you are a college graduate, deeply in debt, and you can't find work commensurate with your education. That happens. Maybe you're a high school kid, high school graduate, you can't find any work at all at any wages. That's why people are nervous about the economy. So I believe when we have so many people unemployed and underemployed, and when we have a real crisis in youth unemployment, we need a massive federal jobs program to put Americans back to work. We should be hiring teachers, not firing teachers. Instead of having a dysfunctional child care and pre-K system, we can have the best child care system in the world where when mom and dad go to work, there is affordable, high-quality care for the little ones, and we do that by hiring hundreds of thousands of well-trained, well-paid child care workers. And at a time when our infrastructure, that's our roads and our bridges and our airports and our water systems and our wastewater plants, all of you are aware of what's going on in Flint, Michigan. All right? That's an extreme, horrible, horrible situation. But all over this country, water systems are breaking down, floods take place, pipes are leaking, they're very antiquated. Until a few years ago, we had a water system in one of the largest cities in Vermont that was built before the Civil War. Okay? And that's not all that uncommon. So we can create millions of good-paying jobs, rebuilding our roads and our bridges and our rail system, and make America more productive and safer and efficient. And that's what I intend to do. When we talk about jobs, it's not only a question of creating millions of jobs, it is a question of preventing the loss of millions of jobs. For the last 30, 40 years, we have had trade policies which have been written by corporate America to benefit corporate America at the expense of working people in this country. You are looking at a former congressman and a U.S. senator who voted against NAFTA, against CAFTA, against permanent normal trade relations with China, and is leading the effort against the TPP. Tonight, when you turn on the TV, you're going to see every major corporation in America say, buy this, buy that, buy that. If they want us to buy their products, maybe they better start manufacturing those products in America, not in China, not in Vietnam. When we talk about the economy, and when we talk about a rigged economy, and when we talk about a corrupt campaign finance system, and a criminal justice system in need of deep reform, I want to tell you just one story and one example of what I'm talking about, which encompasses all of that and more. Here's the situation. A few days ago, some of you may have noticed, I don't know how much you got reported here in the Iowa press. A few days ago, a Goldman Sachs, you all know what Goldman Sachs is? Goldman Sachs is one of the largest financial institutions in America. It is an institution that you were kind enough to bail out. I didn't vote for it, but majority of Congress did, and they said we're going to bail out Goldman Sachs and the other major financial institutions after their greed and recklessness and illegal behavior destroyed our financial system and led us into the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, where millions of people lost their homes, their life savings, and their jobs. So Goldman Sachs was bailed out, and then just a few days ago, Goldman Sachs reached an agreement with the government in which they agreed to pay $5 billion as part of a settlement for selling bogus subprime mortgages. In other words, they were selling packages that they knew were worthless. And they reached the settlement with the government for $5 billion. Now, if some kid in Iowa gets caught with possession of marijuana, that kid will get a police record. And a police record is a nasty thing to have. You go out looking for a job, somebody asks you about that, you may not get that job. Now, you have a financial institution run by a billionaire paying a $5 billion fine. Not one executive in Goldman Sachs will be charged with anything. Not one executive will have a police record. So I find it ironic that somebody who shoplifts, some dog food or some chicken soup can get a police record, but people whose illegal activities help destroy our economy do not get a police record. That's called a broken and unfair criminal justice system. But let me tell you even more. Goldman Sachs is part of the revolving door politics of Washington. You know what that means? What that means is you have people sitting in large corporations or on Wall Street, leaving Wall Street, getting a job in government, and then going back to Wall Street. It's the revolving door. It's the way the big money interest can influence public policy. Over the last several decades, Goldman Sachs, a corrupt major financial institutions, had two Secretary of State, the Secretary of the Treasury, one in a Democratic administration, one in a Republican administration. That is what power in America is about. That is what a rigged economy is about. A huge and powerful financial institution functions illegally, destroys the economy, nobody gets charged with anything. The same institution influences public policy at the highest level by providing the government under Democrats and Republicans with secretaries of the Treasury. And then to add insult to injury, the billionaire leader, CEO of this particular company has the nerve to come to Washington and tell members of Congress they should cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And then on top of all of that, the same financial institution provides huge amounts of money in campaign contributions and in speaking fees to unnamed candidates. That is what a corrupt system is about. That one example tells you everything that you need to know about campaign finance, about a rigged economy, and a broken criminal justice system. This is tough stuff, and I know a lot of Americans don't even want to hear about it because it does not make us happy. But that is what this campaign is about. That is why, not surprisingly, Wall Street is not all that sympathetic to my candidacy. It will shock you, I know. Why corporate America is not particularly sympathetic. But if we are serious about bringing about the changes that we need as a country, we have to deal with that. We can't run away with it. You want to put it under the rug? Fine. Then you're never going to do anything. A lot of candidates have good ideas. Secretary Clinton is very smart. She has a lot of good ideas. Governor O'Malley has good ideas. But at the end of the day, what it's about, do we have the courage to deal with that issue? And if we do, I urge you to join the political revolution. And when it comes to a corrupt campaign finance system, and again, I speak as the former chairman of the Veterans Committee, talking to veterans who put their lives on the line from World War II to today to defend American democracy. When you have billionaire families like the Koch brothers and a few of their billionaire friends prepared to spend $900 million in electing candidates who represent the wealthy and the powerful, that, my friends, is not democracy. That is oligarchy, and together we have got to end that trend. Now, I think when you got a rigged economy, I believe that when in the last 30 years we have seen a massive transfer of income and wealth from the middle class to the top 0.1%,
Not sure what happened to everybody. Looks like the feed either got dropped or stopped. We'll wait here for a second, see what happens. I'll put up a cover card for the moment, and we'll come back as soon as we know what the heck's going on. Sorry about that.
Country economy needs. And the other thing that we've got to do is address the fact that millions of our people, young and not so young, are being crippled with outrageous student debt and with interest rates that are unbelievably high. What our legislation does, and what I would like to make happen as president, is to give people stuck with high interest rates on student debt. I will give them the opportunity to refinance those loans. And that means that instead of paying 6, 8, 10%, you go out and get the lowest interest rate you can, maybe 2, 3, 4%, saving people a whole lot of money on their student debt. When we talk about major issues, I talk to you, I speak to you as a member of the Senate Environmental Committee and the Senate Energy Committee. What I will tell you, having talked to scientists all over our country and all over the world, that the debate is over. Climate change is real. It is caused by human activity. It is already causing devastating problems in our country and around the world. And as president, what I will do is help lead this country to work with China, Russia, India. We can't do it alone. Countries all over the world taking on the fossil fuel industry and in transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And let me thank the people of Iowa, because you guys have been leaders in this country in moving us to sustainable energy. In terms of wind, I think you're getting close to 30% of your electricity from wind right now, extraordinary. And you're leading the country in terms of biofuels. So that is the direction that we are trying to go. Now, I want to now connect some dots. I talked a moment ago about a corrupt campaign finances. I talked about climate change. I want you to think about this. How does it happen that you have a major political party called the Republican Party, where they do not have one candidate for president who acknowledges what the overwhelming majority of scientists are saying about climate change? I sit on committees with Republicans. We deal with healthcare issues. We deal with diabetes. We deal with Alzheimer's. We deal with cancer. And they, we have hearings, so they ask the researchers intelligent questions. I may disagree with them. It's a reasonable debate. But when it comes to climate change, they are rejecting I just read the literature. I talked to some prominent scientists. So I'm convinced that climate change is real. It's causing huge problems. The problems will only get worse. And I believe we've got to do something about that. On that day, the Koch brothers and the fossil to speak the truth. And what I say to my Republican colleagues, have the courage to look at the lives of your kids and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. Worry about what this planet will look like in the future. Worry about that more than your campaign contributions. Do the right thing. Last issue I want to raise for you. I am a member of the Health Education Labor Committee, which for a while was chaired by your former Senator Pottawattamie. And in that capacity, I helped write the Affordable Care Act, which has done a lot of good things for our country. 17 million Americans now have health insurance who previously did not. And in fact, the percentage of uninsured in this country is now the lowest that it's been in a long time. We have gotten rid of this obscenity called pre-existing conditions. Remember pre-existing conditions? This insanity established by the insurance companies to make as much money as possible to say, oh, you had breast cancer 5 years ago. Well, we'll cover you on everything except for breast cancer. Because if it recurs, it's expensive and we don't want to have to pay it out. You just stop and you think, well, this is insane. That's what insurance is supposed to be. It's like saying, you got fire insurance. Understand that, in my view, we have got to do better. And why I say that is that today we have 29 million people with zero health insurance. We have even more who are underinsured with high deductibles and high copays. Anybody here have high deductibles? Would somebody want to tell me? Don't feel like. Would anybody want to tell me what the deductibles are? 2,800. One person. Anybody else? How much? 10,000. So you have to pay out the first 10,000 for the whole family. Okay. Anybody else? 4,000. Okay. I feel like a Ronald Cheer. I'm afraid you win. I don't know what you're. Not a great victory here, but that you didn't win. And what that means is when you have high deductibles and you don't have a lot of money, what does it mean? It means that when you get sick, you probably don't go to the doctor. And I have taught the doctors in my own state of Vermont and all over this country who have told me, I think probably all doctors have experienced this at one time or other, people walk into the office. They're very, very sick. The doctor says, why didn't you come in when you first knew you're feeling this pain in your stomach? And people say, well, I didn't have any health insurance, so I had a deductible, I couldn't afford it. Sometimes those people find themselves in a terminal situation, which is not there. Sometimes they have to go to the hospital with huge pain and expense, which would not have been necessary if they went to the doctor. So here we are today in 2016. We have 29 million uninsured, even more underinsured. We pay the highest prices in the world by far for prescription drugs. Anyone dealing with prescription drug issues? You walk into your drugstore tomorrow, the medicine you've been taking for 10 years, the price can double, nothing you can do about it. There is no law to prevent it. So I believe that while we have made progress under the Affordable Care Act, we have got to go further. And we have got to understand that every other major country on earth guarantees health care for all people as a right, every man, woman, and child, and also understand that despite so many uninsured and underinsured, we end up paying, here is the main point, far, far more per person on health care than do the people of other countries who guarantee health care to all of their people. We spend almost 3 times what the British spend per person, and they get health care for all their people. 50% more than the French, far more than the Canadians. So in my view, I want to see this country, and it won't be tomorrow, but I want to see this country move to a healthcare system which guarantees healthcare to all people as a right, and which does it in a cost-effective way to save middle-class families thousands of dollars a year on their healthcare costs. And the way to do that, in my view, is through a Medicare for all single-payer program. All right, that's my speech. Sticking to it. Let's take some. We have some microphones here. We got one over there, and we have another one. We got one over there. Okay. Let's go. Got some questions. Got one right here.
My question actually revolves around gun control. Previously, you'd had a pretty Republican stance on gun control, and after Saturday night's debate, that seems to have flopped a little bit. Could you explain your stance on gun control, and if it has changed, why?
No, it has not flopped. Let me tell you what my stance on gun control is. Take me a minute, but I want to do this. I have a lifetime where I have a D- voting record from the NRA. Sound like I'm a tool of the NRA? D-. I want to tell you another story. Because these charges bother me a little bit. Back in 1988, in Vermont, we have one congressional seat. We're a very small state. And in 1988, when I was mayor of Burlington, I ran for that one seat. 3 people in the race. I ran as an independent, Democrat, Republican. What the gun lobbies said is you can vote for the Democrat, you can vote for the Republican. This is back in 1988. Don't vote for Bernie because he believes we should ban military-style assault weapons. Okay, that's what I said back in 1988. I lost that election by 3 percentage points. 2 years later, maintaining that position, I ended up winning by 16 points. But my first point is, D- voting record. In 1988, I probably lost an election because I had the guts to say that maybe hunters did not need military-style assault weapons to kill a deer. Okay? Throughout my political career, at the end of the day, I think all of us, gun owners, non-gun owners, are appalled and horrified by the kind of mass killings that we have seen far, far too frequently. whether it was Sandy Hook, whether it was Oregon, whether it's in San Bernardino, wherever it is. I think there is no magical answer to these problems, but I agree with President Obama, who said after the Oregon shootings, and I remember this because I know the president pretty well, and he doesn't get usually visibly upset on TV. And he did, he was upset. And he said, you know what, this is a very hard problem. But just because it's a hard problem, it doesn't mean to say that we should not do the best that we can do to make sure that we lessen the likelihood of some of these mass shootings. And what he is trying to do now, through executive order, because he can't win the support from Republicans, is to do away with the gun show loophole. We have right now, and what I have always supported, is an instant background check. And that says that when you go in to purchase a gun, if you have a criminal background, if you're mentally unstable, you should not get that gun. That's what I believe, and I think that's what most Americans believe. That's what I've always treated, and I want to strengthen. And I want to deal with the so-called straw man situation, where somebody can walk in to a store and legally buy guns, legally pass the instant background check, and then you can sell the guns to a criminal. I want to make that a federal crime. Now, what I've also said is that there was some bills out there that had some good things, had some bad things. Let me give you an example of the gun manufacturer's liability bill, which I can criticize on. Question. You tell me the answer if you want to jump in. A small gun shop owner in Iowa legally sells a gun to somebody who passes the instant background check. Sells the gun legally. That person, 3 months later, goes out and commits a murder. Should the gun shop owner be held liable for that? No. I don't think so. You don't think so. We protected that person. And I think that was the right thing to do. In that particular legislation, there was a provision that stopped the sale of what we call armor-piercing ammunition. We have police officers here who may have bulletproof vests.
And we'll bring it back as soon as it shows up. Looks like their feed is stalled. Sorry, everybody.
of the American people didn't vote. 80% of young people didn't vote. Now, I am very pleased that in this campaign, we are involving a whole lot of young people in the political process. So my answer to you is, please tell, I know that some of your friends will think, you went out and wasted 2 hours going to a political meeting with this guy Bernie Sanders. What a waste of time. You could have been doing something productive with your life, like doing video games or whatever. Here you are. Tell your friends that you are right and they are wrong. That democracy is not a spectator sport. That if you and your friends are not involved in the political process, if you don't know what's going on, if you don't pay attention, if you are not involved, guess what? There are other people who will fill that vacuum. There are people out there who do not want you to be involved. They do not want you to vote. What they want is to create a system with very, very wealthy people and campaign contributors and lobbyists dominate what's going on. And if there's anything that this campaign is about, is trying to reverse that trend, is trying to bring young people. This country, the future of this country, you're going to have to live in that. And you should help to try to shape it. So get involved. Where's the mic? I don't think. Where? Yeah. Okay. Right there. I know, it's like a striptease here. I'm trying to. Don't worry.
I graduated today with a bachelor's degree. I'm 23 and I have $60,000 worth of debt. As it stands right now, I'm a white male and I'm uninsured. I'm $1,000 behind my rent. I'm working as much as I can, and I get the whole full-time, part-time, run around, cut your hours. That puts me in a tough position. I didn't sign up for the healthcare because I couldn't afford it. When I graduate, my student loan payments will be $1,200. Twice as much as what I'm paying rent right now. I can't afford to eat, so I do, and I pick and choose. I agree that higher education needs to be paid for, at least somehow. 2 years, 3-year, 4-year college. However, my loan payment right now is 3.2% or 3.4%. That's what I'm locked in. And I'm already at 60,000. Lowering that, which I was lucky. I got it when they locked it in 2010. Said, all right, 3.4, that's good. That's not good. I'm 60 grand in debt. I don't know what I'm going to do. Criminal justice is my major. Criminal justice system, as you stated.
Okay. Yeah, well, thanks for it. Benjamin's story is the story of hundreds of thousands of people as they get dying. His crime in life is that he wanted to go to college. That's your crime? You're being punished for wanting to get a higher education. That is insane. I think we can all agree with that. So I think there are a variety of ways to deal with that. But if you're not earning sufficient income, you should not be forced to pay the kinds of payments that you're obliged to make right now. Those can be delayed. You can figure out how to deal with that. But what sense does it make when you have somebody who sacrifices to go to college and is looking at seeing his life really going through the ringer because of wanting to go to college? That is absolutely crazy. That is why I will fight to make sure that public colleges and universities are tuition free. There's a mic. Yep. You got somebody?
Another great. Feel your pain, and by the way, I'm right there with you.
I currently work as an EMT. And what I see a lot of is the need for homeless people's path in place to live. And the reason I see that is because they call us. When they're on the street, they don't have a place to go, they go to the hospital. So they call 911 or you get a call for them. We pick them up. They spend time in the hospital using up that money that is in Medicare, costing everybody a lot of money. And my heart goes out to them. I feel where they are. They don't have a place to stay, call their home. What do you have in mind to help that problem, to save millions of dollars in healthcare across this country and house those that are in need? Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing. This is what irrational public policy is about. You have people living out on the streets in weather like this, trying to get by. And when you're living out on the streets, by definition, somebody once said, that 48% of people who are living out on the streets have mental health issues. I challenge anybody to live out on the streets today, and if you don't have a mental health issue after 2 days, I would be very surprised. And the point you're making is, and it's not just people going into emergency rooms or going into the hospital, at great expense. It is not dissimilar with our jail system. A significant number of people who are in jail should be receiving mental health treatment rather than incarceration. But we can save money by preventing. If somebody has affordable housing and some mental health treatment, it would cost a lot less than going to the emergency room. Is that correct? I believe it's correct. Certainly a lot less than them ending up in jail. So it's a question, and I say that to you as somebody who wrote, I can't remember what it was called, I think the National Affordable Housing Trust Program, which is in fact building low-income affordable housing in this country. But it's again a question of prevention, putting money to keep people healthy, keep people in housing, rather than locking them up or seeing them in hospitals and emergency rooms. It's unfair to the people, and it's unfair to the taxpayers. Okay, maybe a couple more questions.
I have several questions, but I have to tell the story to get to them. I am a mother of a child with epilepsy. And there has been no program for me. I made too much for Medicaid. I made too much for disability. I was actually told to either quit my job or reduce my hours to qualify for assistance. I filed for bankruptcy with over $20,000 in debt, not a single credit card, not a single loan, that was all medical. And my bankruptcy lawyer told me, was actually afraid to do it because in 7 years, or you need to be over the next 7 years before I did that assistance again. On top of that, I want to thank you for giving me a free medical condition. I got stuck in a job for 15 years that I absolutely hate, and I never really made what I had the potential of making because I couldn't leave, because I couldn't insure her, and I kept her uninsured. There's a gap.
And that job kept her insurance.
Yeah, they kept me insurance, and I didn't leave. And if I left, there was always a waiting period before the insurance started again. The only way you would cover her is if I kept her insured that whole time, and the payments would have gone up. On top of that, I'm running out of my job 5 times a week, maybe working 2 hours a day. And I can't find any kind of daycare system. You talked about the child care program. There was only 2 places in Nebraska that could school, and it's been 5 years and I have yet to get a call. That was a lot. I want to know what kind of programs are there for us parents to have these kids. Was it that there was already encouraged, like, well, yeah, I think this is great, we're going in that direction, but what kind of programs is there for us? We're trying, really trying, and we have our sick kids that are always going to have it.
You raised, first of all, thank you for having the courage. And again, like Betty, that's what you have to do. Eventually, you think you're the only person in America with that? Millions. Practically. That's right, your first name is anonymous. Not least there are hundreds of thousands of people in exactly your position. We touched on many, many issues. Okay, let me just touch on one. Everyone heard Natalie say that she stayed at a job that you didn't like. Is that correct? For one reason, you were able to maintain insurance for your daughter. Yes? How many people in America do exactly that? There was a story once, a couple of years ago. This guy, who was pretty old, he re-enlisted into the U.S. military. I think you're a pretty old guy. Why are you doing this? Because my wife has breast cancer, and that's the only way I can get insurance for her. Okay? All over this country, people are staying at jobs they do not want to stay in. They'd rather go out and do something that they love or what they're really good at, but they can't do it because you can't get insurance, so you lose what you have. Think of what that means to the economy. Think of what it means, in your case, Natalie, if we had a Medicare for all single-payer system where you would get the same health insurance whether where you work or if you didn't work. You would get it because you and your daughter are citizens of the United States of America. Think what that would be. Second of all, I mean, in terms of special treatment, taking care of kids with epilepsy or whatever the illness is. And, you know, as I've been on this campaign trail, my God, I've seen so many families come up to me, kids come up to me. In Los Angeles, a young girl with cystic fibrosis. And, you know, you just see these things. And what we need to do is to change national priorities. So maybe instead of giving tax breaks to hundreds of billions of dollars for the top 2 tenths of 1%, what the Republicans want, you know, what about making sure that we have programs available for caregivers in this country? How would that be? Right. To use issues, not just for moms with sick kids, what we did a few years ago, and this was especially true in the veterans. You have veterans coming home with one disability or another. And again, people don't know this. They say, well, it's a terrible thing for the veteran. What about the wife? What about the mother? Who's staying home taking care of the veteran who wants to stay home and not get into some nursing home or some institution? Okay. What happens to that wife? Maybe she had a career that she wanted to explore, go out and make some money. She's now staying home under very difficult conditions. Like staying home with her husband who has PTSD. What about her? Did she get any help? Well, what we did do, I wanted to do much more, but for post 9/11 veterans, we managed to get some help to the caregivers. Okay, so we said you're going to get a small stipend. You're going to be able to get out of the house every once in a while. Somebody will be able to come in and spell you. You'll be able to get some help yourself. But we got a major crisis in this country in caregivers. You know why? We are an aging population. There are people today finding out that their mom has Alzheimer's. What are we going to do about that? Mom does not want to go to a nursing home. It's much more comfortable at home. Somebody has to stay home with her. How do we work on that? Should that daughter, meanwhile, who's raising kids herself, not going to worry about her mother? If she stays home, she loses her income. How does she provide for her kids? Those are some of the tough issues that we have to deal with. But again, all of this gets back to the fact that we are the wealthiest country in the history of the world. You know what? We can solve those problems. Yes, millionaires may have to pay a little bit more in taxes so that we can provide caregiving services to people who need it. Okay, I think we're going to have to hit the road. Going to be one last question. I see the woman right here. Stand up, please. Yeah. Got a mic for her? Sorry.
You're on a contest for not having much foreign policy experience. Can you talk to us about your views on ISIS and Middle East?
I'm criticized for everything. That's the fun thing about running president. And let me thank you for asking me that much. In fact, I'm being criticized as we speak, so I'll stay on this comment. And so here's the simple reality. No one can deny that Secretary Clinton has a lot of foreign policy. She was Secretary of State for 4 years, that gives you a lot of history. But experience does not necessarily equate to judgment. Okay, let's talk about judgment, which is of some consequence when we talk about foreign policy, right? You know, Dick Cheney had a hell of a lot of experience. God help us all. So, let's talk about, I got elected to Congress in 1990. One of the first issues that I had to deal with was the Gulf War. Remember the first Gulf War? Well, we invaded. We got Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait. I voted against them. And I think history will record that as the right vote. But there are other ways to get them out of Kuwait. But more importantly, in 2002, we had a very, very tough president. My God, that guy was so tough. And he told us, Cheney told us, and Rumsfeld told us that we just have to go to war against Iraq. Not to worry, because this will be a short-term war. Our young men and women would come home shortly and leave Iraq as a democratic nation. Didn't quite happen that way. I listened very carefully, and I will tell you, every member of Congress, conservative, progressive, takes it seriously to say no. That young people in their own states watch. I listened very, very carefully to what Bush and Cheney had to say about the war in Iraq. And I concluded that they were dead wrong. I voted, not only did I vote against the war in Iraq, I helped lead the opposition to the war in Iraq. So, if you go to my website, or you go to YouTube and look up Bernie Sanders' War in Iraq 2002, this is what I said on the floor. And it gives me no joy, believe me, it does not, to tell you that much of what I feared would happen about the instability, the chaos, the vote. That's what I said back in 2002. Hillary Clinton, who was very, very experienced, also listened to what Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld had to say. She voted for the war in Iraq, the worst foreign policy blunder in the modern history of the United States. Let me say a word about what we, I hope, will learn from the war in Iraq. And that is, ISIS is a barbaric organization. I don't have to explain that to you. That has to be destroyed. But the lesson of the war in Iraq is that the United States cannot and should not do it alone. We have got to do it in coalition. Now, King Abdullah of Jordan made an interesting statement a couple of months ago. This is what he said. And in a country, in a part of the world where there are very few heroes, he's probably one of the few. And what he said was that terrorism, of course, is an international issue. We all know what happened in Paris. We have to say, you know, happened in Lebanon. We know what ISIS does. But he said, you know what? It is primarily a Muslim issue. Because what this struggle is about is for the soul of Islam against those who have hijacked their religion and converted it into this barbaric form, which is not what Islam is. And what he said is that at the end of the day, the way that ISIS will be defeated is when Muslim troops on the ground take on ISIS and destroy them with the support of the major powers. So what I believe, I agree with them. And I believe that the United States, UK, France, Germany, and Russia, by the way, have got to coordinate our efforts to support Muslim troops on the ground. I will do my very best to make certain that our young men and women in the military do not get involved in perpetual warfare in the quagmire of the Middle East. The good news in an area where there's not been a lot of this, the good news, and I knock on wood here and hope that it continues, is that in the last few months at least we have seen the Iraqi army beginning to become an effective fighting force. And as some of you know, they have retaken Ramadi, which is a big deal. They handled themselves well. In fact, in the last year, ISIS has lost 20% of the territory that they previously controlled in Iraq. So hopefully, with our support from the air, with our military support, with our training support, that Muslim nations will destroy ISIS with our support. But our goal is not to get dragged into perpetual war. Let me all thank you for coming out this afternoon to suggest this. On February 1st, the eyes of America and the eyes of the world actually will be looking on your small state. And they're going to see what happens in the Iowa courts. And the decision that you have to make is whether or not we continue with establishment politics and establishment economics, or whether we are part of a political revolution which not only elects a new president, but which fights to transform American society. That's what this election is about. I would very much appreciate you coming out on caucus night, and I ask for your support. Thank you all very much.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us. I apologize for being awful bright. I'm really feeling the burn.
You're blinding us.
I'm blinding you with brightness. That was awesome. The testimony from people, the testimony from 99 always blows my mind. Listens, he understands what they're saying. These are real stories. This is the stuff that mainstream media will not tell you. These are stories of the 99 happening all over the place. And, when corporate media says that there's no one for Bernie Sanders, when corporate media says that minorities aren't Bernie Sanders, when corporate media says that he doesn't have a chance, they're lying. We see it because the people have risen around Bernie Sanders. We're looking for a change. We don't want the status quo. I'm sorry. I saw that come through as a tweet. But what I got here right now, I've seen this a few times now. If you guys haven't seen, breaking news: Bernie Sanders up 60% to 32% in new New Hampshire poll. And this is Royce. He says, "I am hoping the new Iowa polls will show him more head too. There is much validity in saying that she has nowhere to go but down in Vice and is absolutely. Janine, thoughts and feelings? Any?
No, I thought that was.
For years, 692, channel 120.
I think that's coming from.
That sound from There we go.
Yeah, I think that that poll is awesome, and I think it's the first of many to show that Bernie's numbers are going to start to skyrocket. And just something else that just happened. I didn't know if you wanted to spend too much time on it, but looks like Donald Trump has a new endorser in Sarah Palin. Yeah, I don't think we need to touch on that too much.
There's a ticket. Just
exactly. Yeah. That could be kind of scary.
Yeah. I mean, geez, I don't even know what that would look like. It would redefine science. It would redefine everything in America. It would have a whole mystery gobbledygook world made up of their two imaginations.
Maybe she can invite Trump to her house so they can look at Russia.
And build a wall right there.
And build a wall. They need to build a wall on the Bering Strait.
There you go.
Keep all the Russians.
Right on the ocean. We'll just split it in half and just.
And he'll make Russia pay for it too. He'll make Putin pay for it.
Oh, right. He doesn't need to have the money. He can negotiate that deal.
Right.
That's what we need. We need a sleazeball salesman as a president of the United States. That's what we need. Sleazeball salesman for our president. We have, that's what I'm looking for out of my leader.
Anyway, that was the piece of breaking news. So, but I thought this one with Bernie was really great with all the questions at the end, and especially because he released his healthcare plan, and after the debate the other night, some really great questions on healthcare and some real stories about how the Affordable Care Act is a step up from what we had before, but it's got a lot of holes. There's still high deductibles. A lot of people aren't covered. A lot of people not going to the doctor because they would still have to be shelling out a lot of money from their pockets. So it was great to see him addressing those questions and showing what real people are going through.
Yes, agreed. Sorry, I'm sitting here tweaking your delay. I know it's totally out of sync. That changes the subject. Yes, it was great to see what they were going through. Sorry for everybody if the thing was out of sync. It was coming from Action 3. We really got to thank the local people. This is KMTV Action 3 was giving we got the majority of the people from. Then it came from WSOP or something like that. NBC 6 Omaha. Which was interesting. But the problem was they were doing something with the delay in the sync, and I couldn't adjust it on my end, so I have no idea whether anything was in sync. You got the basics of it, and I know Janine isn't in sync right now, so I may not be either. Not important. We have 161 people watching, and at one point we must have gotten some people from the network because we had a big bump, 100 people. It just dropped back down. But hi everybody, thank you for joining us. Sorry, Janine. Where we at? What do we want to talk about? On Friday?
We have just a couple of things. I guess we could talk about upcoming stuff.
Okay.
We have Women for Bernie's Portia Bulger is going to be on the show on Thursday on We the People at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's going to be great. She's got a lot of information and some stories about how that group came to be and what they're working on. And we also have, for Friday, we're putting together, Bernie is going to be back in New Hampshire. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He's like, yesterday was Alabama, today he's in Iowa, and now he's going to be going to New Hampshire. So our very own intrepid reporter, Biff Ward, will be on the scene for us. And he's going to work on getting us something for Thursday as well. There's an important speech on Thursday. So hang tight. We'll let you know as they become available. And, of course, this Saturday, a very important date, events are happening throughout the country. Bernie is doing a live stream, and he will be, giving updates on how the campaign is going. So if you can go to an event near you, go to map.berniesanders.com, look for events on the 23rd,
and get out there, get involved in your local community.
There you go. Good. And we're gonna try to broadcast tonight. Try if we can find a feed, maybe, right? Tonight.
But we are going to try. I can't commit to anything at this point.
Yeah. But honestly, the local stations have been really cool lately. So thank you, local stations. Keep it up, and we will keep thanking you. Yeah, you guys have been really great. Appreciate it. What else? Oh, if you haven't seen it, we've got a show now every morning. Well, every morning for me, but for everybody else in the world, apparently it's a show. So tomorrow at noon, it will be the Real Newsroom with me and Janine and maybe Sean and whoever else pops in. But we're going to cover the topics of today. We're going to separate fact from fiction. We're going to explain the difference between what MSM is spinning and what is actually happening.
And John, I have one more important thing. And you mentioned it in the chat room, so I think I'm okay to mention this. Lou is working on an event happening in Nebraska. Nebraska is actually Simone Sanders' hometown. And he is going to be out there. There's a Democratic Party event that's happening. And he is working on bringing Simone Sanders from that event on Saturday. And I think it's 11 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure you join us for that one. That's going to be great.
That's awesome. We have Nina Turner coming up. We have Simone Sanders.
Snickers CRISPR.
We're moving on up in the world, folks. This is awesome. We're very honored to be able to have any time with these guys because there's a war going on and they've got a lot to do. So it's really, really awesome to have them and to have a conversation because that's the difference, right? And here we can actually have a real-time conversation with these guys and get to know them better and ask them the questions we want. There's no filtering, there's no censorship, there's no really stupid questions coming out of mainstream media mouths. Actually,
somebody asked what time tonight. If we are able to get you a feed, Bernie is in Sioux City tonight starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we will be posting that link. Check our Twitter, check our Facebook, check our YouTube page for an event if we are able to carry that.
Yes. And we will just go through the basics really quick as part of the role. Connect with Bernie. Connect.berniesanders.com. Go there. Get in there. It's the community. It's where you want to be. Use it.
Lots of good stuff on here. Can I mention what the campaign did? Or the connect.berniesanders.com. Go to the resources page and look at digital assets. If you are a video editor, if you like making those awesome Bernie videos, the campaign or the company that's actually supporting the campaign and recording all the behind the scenes footage released 179 videos of material with Bernie. Go there, create those videos, send them to us because we want to put them up on our channel and show them during our shows. So go check it out. I can't wait to get in there and look at what's been posted.
That is awesome. I didn't realize. So that's okay. Now I got the media. That is incredible. All sorts of stuff happens in the background, guys, and I look and see this stuff flying through Slack, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. No, understand this is beautiful, beautiful footage of Bernie that we can use. Do whatever you want with it. Get creative. I'm looking forward to seeing what you submit. Go ahead, Jenny.
Another thing, Rachel Maddow is having Bernie on tonight on her 9 p.m. Eastern show. Check that out. I don't know, maybe they listened to our show, John, because I was talking about Rachel Maddow earlier this morning on the new show, and now Bernie's going to be on. At least I can dream, right?
Why would they do that? Because we're talking about it. I don't recall saying anything very kind. I thought Rachel was pretty much.
Well, maybe maybe because yesterday I had mentioned the 538 stuff. She was showing the graphs after he had put his spin on endorsements and stuff like that. And I said, well, that wasn't fair. They should have shown what it was before that, and how the people coming out to the rallies and so forth should affect those graphs. But anyway, it's. I'm sure she's not watching this, or maybe I don't know.
Listen, I think it would be cool. Honestly, my personal opinion is that Rachel actually feels the burn. but she is being told not to by the corporate ownership. And that was part of our discussion this morning on the Real Newsroom. CNN in particular, not Rachel, who's what, MSNBC or NBC, which I,
MSNBC, yeah.
Okay. CNN is making an apology through one of their articles. Oh, we just really haven't done a good job. That's my phone. Really haven't done a good job, covering Bernie Sanders. And we just realized that, no, we're so sorry. We're such bad journalists. It's bullshit. See, you all are well aware that you have been blacking out. We called it a media blackout if you hadn't been paying attention to the internet. You guys weren't sharing any of that information or doing anything with hashtag, but everybody else in the world called it a Bernie blackout. You guys are saying, oh, we were too focused on the establishment and just ingrained. It was the most lame thing I'd ever seen. And so I really think when we see this, what we're looking at is this is the revolution appearing. This is how the revolution appears in corporate media, because you've got journalists with integrity. They're not all terrible. They're human beings. They probably go home at night and go, right? I want to say this, but I can't because my corporate boss, CNN, which gave Hillary Clinton $500,000, right? My corporate boss, MSNBC, Microsoft. Tell me Microsoft has anything going on with Hillary? Right? Come on. So, they're stuck. We have journalists now that have to make a tough call. And I think Rachel Maddow is one of those journalists. I think she wants to feel the burn. I think she feels burn already. I think she probably did want to vote for Hillary. And I would have done it too.
We'll see tonight at 9:00 what she has to say. So, yeah.
That'd be great if she flips, if she changes it over.
Oh. We shall see.
All right, moving on. I thank you for bringing that up. That's awesome. Here's the next piece of the puzzle, everybody. Next piece of the revolution. This is the Rally app, GoRally.co. And the reason we're bringing this up really quick is because it's awesome. This is a mobile app that will connect via your zip code and get you connected with the grassroots effort, the political revolution, and really cool, they just integrated our content into it. So the video archive, they're working on putting all of it in there, adding some things to the UI so that it's a little better access. But you will be able to get our past rallies, our past shows, all of our Bernie-related stuff on this app. It'd be fantastic. We really thank them for that. And what's next?
Feel the burn.
Feel the burn. This is the canvassing app. All of these things we're showing you are officially endorsed by the campaign. These are what they want you to use. We're not just pulling stuff out of the air. I know there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of stuff that's been created, a lot of intellectual property and applications created by the 99. But these are the ones that the campaign wants you to use to organize the grassroots effort. So Feel the Burn is a canvassing app, and it's fieldtheburn.com, and it's a lot of people use it already. Get that app. And I think I have one last place, a couple last places. Here's feeltheburn.org, and this was shown to me earlier today. This is flyers.
Where have you been?
What?
I'm just kidding. So where have you been? Where have you been? Just finding out? No, just kidding.
I know about the website. I know the website feeltheburn.org, but I honestly don't really know what all is on there. And so this was the first time somebody said, look, here's one of the things on there. Great.
It's a great site. It's a wonderful site, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And here's the last one. And this is the best site for us right now. If you've got a friend who is still voting Hillary, if you've got if your parents are hardcore Dems, like, I'm going to vote for Hillary because MSM says she's the only one with a chance. Bernie is a psycho radical. Show them this. Show them this is ifyoulikehillary.com. And it's a side-by-side comparison of where they stand. Very simple bullet points to help you plead the case that Bernie Sanders is the man for the job. So these are the tools. These are the tools we have for the revolution. We'll see you maybe later.
I want to mention, if you guys out there have a little bit of time and want some fun, there's another great site. I don't think this one is endorsed, but isberniecrazy.com. you can go there because it starts out on their splash screen. It talks about, you know, how all the corporate media is out there saying, oh, Bernie's crazy, he's this, he's that, whatever. And then, you know, they invite you to click anywhere to begin, and then it really gets into his policies and shows, like, he's probably the most sane person out there that's running. So check it out if you have time and you want a new site to play around with. Obviously, go to all those other apps first, but if you have some time, check it out.
Nice. That's awesome. By the way, everybody, in the next, I don't know, you'll just hear her audio changed. I just figured out the sync. You just got to sync.
Oh, I was enjoying being out of sync.
Were you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of those old Bean movies, you know, kung fu movies from the 70s, right?
Yes. All right, I feel like we should end with a tune, just because we're here and that's what we do. But I don't have anything. What do you want to pick?
Can we do? Oh man, you're gonna make me. Should we do a fallback to Tony Tig? You got him around?
Yeah. Thank everybody in the audience while I look for it.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Another great appearance by Bernie in Pottawattamie County in Iowa. Check back again to see if we will be able to bring you tonight's broadcast. And again, Thursday night, We the People. Friday is Bernie in Hudson, New Hampshire. Saturday morning, the Blue Dot Rally with Simone Sanders. Saturday night is the nationwide Bernie address, and I hope I'm not forgetting anything in between now and then, but check back as always if you can. And thanks to you, John. Thanks to Sean. Sean had to leave us, so
Can't find it.
you can't find it. Oh man!
You go look. I'm going to talk now. You find it. I can't find it.
This is why I have to do everything around here. All right, let me find it.
I got too many things to look at. I'm looking. I'm scrolling through, and I don't have my glasses. By the way, I'm supposed to be wearing these. Okay, I'm old now. I'm supposed to be wearing these, but they cause the glare, and I can't. So I can't see it. You gotta put up.
I got it.
Sorry.
I will drop that for you.
Thank you. They're going to watch you do it. 130 people still watching us try to put up a song so we can end the show. That's what I love about it. The grassroots movement is they're really patient.
Yes.
Is it? All right.
I think that's Tony Tig. This is my ringtone, guys. Like if you can, search for him on YouTube. Tony Tig, Feel the Burn. He's got a link there. You can go and download the song and make it your ringtone yourself. One of my favorites from the very beginning.
You know about that? Janine, I just want, let's talk about that for a second, because I found the original email. Maybe not the original email, but I found the email where Angela asked him for permission, right? Like,
nice.
Hey, Tony Tig. And Angela came in later, and we'd actually been using that for a long time. This is the first time one of us actually reached out to him and said, hey, I really like your song. And he had the nicest things to say. It was like, oh yeah, I subscribe, I know who you are, and you guys are great. And I find it interesting that, it's taken us a while for all of us out there that feel the burn to kind of get together and hold us. And I love how it's happening through, really it's happening through creative media. It's happening through social media and songs and artwork and conversation. And that's how we're organized to change our nation. Mm-hmm. Just beautifully. And so this is Tony Tig.
Tony Tig, and let's get everyone out there chair dancing, including you, Cynical Growth, because I know you want to.
Well, this is one of the original best from way all back in June when we started this adventure. So, thank you, everybody. Hopefully, we'll see you soon, and feel the best. Nobody in America knows.
Right, like Bernie Sanders for the middle class. But a GOP was to put our interests last. He's gonna give it to you raw, no hesitation. Was the right ideas to lead this great nation. No handouts, no special interest groups. Hell, not to give votes, telling you the truth. And while the media wants to downplay him, he still gon' fight. Tell him all he ain't playing. Push him for higher wages so we all can be the family. He's the only one I know who can conquer this insanity. Of this Wall Street figuring, belittling the $4 bills, only thing they considering. People need health care, kids need school. When it comes to politics, Bernie's breaking rules. No attack kids on the competition needed. He's running on the facts and it's something that we needed. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. On the way to the White House, feel the burn. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. To the haters on the right, make them feel the burn. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. On the way to the White House, feel the burn. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. To the haters on the left, they can feel the burn. You see him scared shook, he's a democratic socialist. They don't even know what it means. They just roll with it, get over it. Check the resume, fight for civil rights ever since the first day. While other candidates still with their hands out. We do it old school, grassroots stand out. But this is our time to have a voice heard. You can't stand your chance, now it's our turn. They say you can't win, it's too liberal, way too extreme, too honest and too cynical. They want another robot politician, the same old rhetoric, now they gon' listen. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. On the way to the White House, feel the burn. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. Till the haters on the right, make them feel the burn. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. On the way to the White House, feel the burn. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. Till the haters on the left, make them feel the burn.
Millions and millions of working people who are working hard but are not making enough money to put bread on the table or to take care of their kids, and that is not fair.
The time has come when people all over this country create a political movement which says to the billionaire class, you can't have it all.
Make them feel the burn. On the way to the White House, feel the burn. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. Till the haters on the right, they can feel the burn. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. On the way to the White House, feel the burn. Feel the burn, make them feel the burn. Till the haters on the left, they can feel the burn.
Huge